I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where to find.
All right. Welcome. This is Financial Literacy with TC. I'm your boy TC. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me. So many podcasts out in the world you could have chosen to listen to, but you always choose to come back and listen to mine. I'm so appreciative of that. Today, as you can see, doing something very unique. This is the first podcast episode that we are doing virtually. So I'm so excited to, try this out, see how it goes, see how it looks. Definitely I want you guys to bear with me if there's any technical issues or if there's any things that don't come out clear, don't sound right. But we definitely want to start getting more guests on and getting them on more frequently. And the best way to do so is in the virtual world. So I just want to thank you guys and bear with me. But I am excited today because I definitely got one of the young guns in the world, in the financial world, who is somebody I actually look up to, even though he just happens to be younger than me. But our relationship has flourished over the years. He's somebody who I look at it and I say, man, damn, he remind me of myself, but he's about 5, 10 years younger. And he's definitely doing amazing things. Our relationship started back in, I want to say 2022. It started to grow over the past 2 years. We both were in the banking field. I was working for a financial institution, and he was at a lot of networking events that I was working at. He was doing a lot of stuff. Formerly a former relationship banker at Chase, but he was definitely a go-getter, a hustler. He's actually graduated from Woody High, so shout out to Woody High, and he definitely worked his way up in the financial field. He's currently a financial professional, so we're going to dive into that. He's definitely an entrepreneur as well. He has his own cleaning company business, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the biggest thing that I want we're going to dive into is just him being a financial advisor and his company that he is now working with. And we definitely want to talk about a lot of financial topics and subjects because we want to really bring some real substance. So before I introduce my man's, hopefully I did his intro justice. I do want to remind you guys to like, subscribe, and share to Financial Literacy with TC so we can continue to bring you some financial content. But with all that being said, I want to introduce the man that's sharing the screen with me today, Robert Williams. What's up, man?
Perfect. Perfect.
How'd I
No,
do?
I do
I
appreciate
know I
that,
left
Tyler. I wanted to, I
I
know
know I left some stuff off, but how'd I do?
everyone and tap on events and the banking industry. I've been in for a little over half a decade. So I've
Right.
been able to acquire information as I was someone on the outside thinking like, man, I can't even work there. I grew up in Braddock, and I see myself at a bank. It was first step, first step. But I chose the bank because I didn't grow up with money. And
Right.
I always was working in school. I had two jobs. I was working at two corner stores at once. I
Mm,
started at a very, very young age, 12 years old, just going there and being like, hey, let me help you bring some of the food and the drinks in. And they kept saying no to me, but I kept coming out. One day I caught them in a bad moment. Was very
mm,
busy, super
right.
busy. They got there late, the store is opening, they got a truckload full of food, drinks, and just supplies for the store. So I'm like,
Right.
hey, let me help bring it in for you. Help brought it in.
Got you.
Then from there, I just started working at the corner store. Only one in the neighborhood at the time that was close by. Then worked at another one that was built down the street. Then I'm like, all right, what do I do next? 18, about
Right.
to graduate high school. I don't know nothing about credit to be able to get a loan. I didn't
Right.
even know how to enroll. So I'm like, let me look up to a bank. That's where they teach
Right.
Right after I graduated. So go in there, don't know nothing. I didn't know nothing. It's
That's
more of
great.
a transactional place, right?
For
Most
sure.
people come in there, they just think of you, they see you, they're like, all right, I just put my money here, but they really lose an access that the banks have that they give you.
Right.
They allow you to be able to transfer the risk of holding all that money that some people be making or some people want to make,
Right.
right? What are you gonna do with 100,000 or 5 or 1,000 just sitting in your house? You know, it's not protected there. So you
Right.
put it in the bank account just so they could guarantee that security is still gonna be there.
Right.
I got most of my experiences in the bank from talking to different people that came in,
Right.
telling you about how the bank operates. They're like, yeah, just do the training. But most people skip through the training. They wasn't reading it. They wasn't
Right.
going through and understanding that, hey, this might apply to the bank, but you could use this in your outside life as well.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep. Nah, and that's crazy, man, because I love that because while our paths may be different, how we got into banking, a lot of similarities I heard from that. So let's jump right into it, man, because I want to talk about before we get to what you're doing now and how you got into the financial field. Let's get into some since we're on the topic of banking. Let's get into some of the gems that we wanted to share as far as policies and disclosures. Because recently I had put a post on my Financial Literacy with TC Facebook page where I got into just a top five disclosures and policies that you should read when you open a new account. And while I know this is a topic that's dear to you because I remember when we were at a networking event, you was going around telling everybody about the privacy policy. And I always admired that about you because, this episode is I want to be able to give people some hidden gems that are not going to be talked about. It's stuff that bankers know because they're in that world, but it's something that the public and the general people should know because it's given to you. It's not a secret. But if you don't really take the time to read it and learn what it means, you this can be a lot of these can be violated, and it can make your banking experience worse than it needs to be because a lot of how many times you opened accounts and you give people all the disclosure packets and they just take it and roll and they never look at it again. But yet then they come into the financial institution and then they're all upset and in a tizzy because they don't understand how things work. Um, so before I let you get into the privacy policy, I just want to share the top five that I posted, and then you let me know what you think, and then we can definitely dive into that one. So the first one I put on there was the fee schedule. As you know, all banks got fees. For me, I think that's the top one, just just because I did a podcast episode several months ago. We talked about how much financial institutions making just overdraft fees alone. It's north of $9-10 billion. So I'm like, well, the banks already got money. You just how are they making money? It's a business, The second one I put was funds and availability. Because a lot of times people don't understand how, yeah, you put your money in your bank, but short of you doing cash, there are certain other factors that go into when your funds will be available, the dollar amount that you put into the bank. There's restrictions and things on that. And a lot of times our people don't really understand that, oh, if I put $100,000 check in there, oh, I'm not getting all that at once. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. The third one I put was ownership of cards. I've dealt with, and I don't know if you experienced it, I've dealt with people who really think those cards are theirs when it says on the card, this is not yours. Something to that degree. It says it's not yours. The financial institution lends it to you technically for you to be able to access your funds, but it does not belong to you. It's the property of that financial institution. The fourth one
Mm-hmm.
is liability. A lot of times I've seen people don't understand that any activity that happens in this account, you are responsible. So the things you do and things that happen,
Mm-hmm.
good or bad, is a reflection of you. A lot of times people don't know that that's the case. And then
Mm-hmm.
last one is mobile banking. A lot of people don't understand how that works. Meanwhile, it's a great convenience, but there's also some things you need to know about. It's not, it doesn't take place of an actual physical branch. There's certain things you can do in a physical branch that you can't do online, and vice versa. So there's a lot of things that are given to people to be able to educate them on how this whole banking industry works. But if you ain't gonna
Mm-hmm.
read the information given to you, you ain't gonna never know. So I say all that to say, man, those were my top five. Obviously, we know there's tons more. There's tons more of disclosures and policies, but I thought those were my top five. What are your thoughts?
All of those are important for us, because they don't explain how banks work, how to operate a bank. Actually going into a contract with the bank, and
Right,
y'all are upholding to each one of y'all have certain sets of obligations. But when you read the privacy notice, when you read all the disclosures that they're giving you, you understand that. But then
right.
it's like, all right, there's language in here I don't understand. I never seen these words. Search
Oh,
it up.
right,
Got to search it up. Just take the little bit of initiative to be like, all right, let me understand what's going on just so I can use my bank account in the most proper way. But a
right,
lot of bankers just want to get you in the door and open up your account, not actually reading the information for you. Because
right,
why do you get declined for account? Just because of the transactions, you not thinking about the liability of it. And then that
right.
the transactions that you're doing, well, they're reporting it. But then because you notice, you got to understand, do they have the right to report it to who they're reporting it that's actually affecting you?
That's the key.
If you read the privacy notice, you would understand. So for us, we can't get approved for accounts. Why is that? Well, because we weren't taught how to utilize the account. So if you didn't have a bank account, all those fees that you're getting charged for not in there or overdrafting, spending more than what you have, if you didn't have the bank account, would you be getting charged those fees?
Right,
No. So why, when you get the account, you want to get charged those fees?
right,
I think it's the mindset for us on how to be able to utilize the resources that we have available to us.
right,
We think that some people want to make a quick buck. That's why a lot of us, our accounts go down, and then we can't open up a bank account again.
right,
hmm Let's just say with ownership of cards. Well, you got to think. You went into an agreement that, hey, I can put my money here and y'all give me this to be able to access it.
right.
hmm So we're
Okay,
operating in their system. You just got to learn.
for sure. And one of the things that people neglect to understand is, yeah, there's employees from all these financial institutions, but they're not all bankers aren't created equal. There's some people who are there just for a
hmm
paycheck. There's some people who are there to move up in the company. There's some people there who just generally enjoy the relationship they forge with, the people they serve in whatever capacity. And the distinction I've tried to make between those is the individual you deal with, how they treat you, if they remember your name. Because now we're transitioning to a digital age where a lot of people don't actually go into a physical branch. They deal with online stuff, or they do the ATMs, or they do the mobile. All that's fine, but when it comes time to actually build, when you have to go in because of you got scammed, or there was a somebody tried to hack your stuff, or you need a loan or you need a mortgage, you need whatever you need. That relationship is not there because for years you've done your banking digitally. Now, when you go in to try to meet and have a relationship, because I, if I recall, when I was at, in my branch manager role, a lot of times we saw a lot of older demographic that would come in, and those relationships were forged where we knew their name, we knew, their daughters, we knew their family, we knew their kids, we knew the wife, we knew we had a real authentic relationship. And not to say every once in a while we didn't get, someone between, I'll just say 20 to 34. But usually the majority of the traffic coming through the branches were, 40 and up. And it just shows where we're headed from the mindset of how banking is done. And I'm sure there's analytics, to back up, what I'm saying. But my whole point is that relationship is key, and all bankers aren't created equal. So therefore, when you open your accounts or you're doing these loans and you're doing all this stuff, you only gonna be as good as the banker that you're dealing with. So if they've been there a year versus somebody who's been there 15 years, that relationship and the information that's being given is going to be completely different. And these are things that as a consumer and a customer, we don't take in consideration because we just don't know. We think everybody in the bank is on equal footing, equal education level, and that's just not the case. So just your thoughts on that.
And it's where they're looking into. Like for me, when I first got into the banking, I didn't go to college. So it was like, well, I need this continuing education. I'm about to read everything that comes in front of me. So like just to hear something like, all right, when I put a piece of paper in front of a client, it is something simple of it saying they are not allowed to share information with non-affiliate companies. If it's non-affiliate, meaning they don't have common ownership. If they have common ownership, then it's the consumer reporting agencies. People consider them credit bureaus. People consider their credit reporting agencies. They could report consumers' information, but they have different levels of it.
Right.
For banking, they have it for credit, they have it for you being a tenant, they have it for getting on the cell phone, they have different medical, they have different consumer reporting agencies for different situations, but we don't understand that. But for me as a banker, and I'm about this information. So it all depends on what that banker is striving for. If they want to grow themselves and self-develop, and they're reading that information and they've been picking up on everything that's been coming across them for the years, I would definitely say that's the right banker. But you got to make sure your goals align. Are they looking to be out for you? How are you going to vet that banker?
Right.
You're going to
And
ask them some important things that they want to know.
Right. And for me, man, when I dealt with
say.
anybody, for me, when I dealt with anybody, it was to try to show that I'm genuine and authentic. And, I never wanted to give a perception that I wasn't truly for my own best interest. And I'll just be blunt. The institution I worked for, they intentionally made it to where we weren't commission based. So that way we weren't doing things in our best interest. It was more so to do it in the customer's best interest. So knowing that I wasn't going to get any benefit versus, choosing one thing over another, I was like, well, damn, if that's the case, let me make sure that I'm being as honest and as transparent as I can be, because I'm not benefiting on the back end anyway. Whereas there's certain institutions you go to, you're highly incentivized based on commission. So therefore, let's just be blunt. If I can take two products that are damn near the same, but one I get, extra $100, $200, which one am I going to go with? It's not, and now I've taken what my customer wants and I've put my own needs and my own needs and benefits ahead of theirs. And so that was just some of the things that I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get across to people I dealt with is, look, I don't care which decision you make. I'm giving you your options, but I'm going to give you, if you ask me, I'm gonna give you the recommendation that I know is probably, if I was in your shoes, I would. And for a lot of my career,
Mm-hmm.
that's what set me apart from a lot of other bankers.
Mm-hmm. And no, that's wonderful because it's like the financial institution I worked for says commission based off of how you assist the clients and similar different institutions. One was a credit union, one was just a bank, and they
Right,
operated the same way just so that they can make sure that they had the client's best interests at heart. It's just people are people at the end of the day. The bank might have a goal, but the people goal is always going to be different. So
right.
that's why I said make sure your goals align.
Right, for sure. Absolutely. So on that note, man, let's get into the transition you recently made, man. I want to start by just saying I'm super proud of you leveling up. You've recently become a financial advisor. Just talk a little bit about what your new role looks like, how it all came to be, and then anything else you want us to know about the steps you've made.
I'd say I transitioned to be a financial advisor because being at the bank, like you said, everyone has different goals. Well, I'm work at the bank. I might not be incentivized to be able to sell you stuff, but I can't share information about other institutions. So, and
Right,
I wanted to be able to be more of a resource to people, to connect or get you with the right person. So let's just say you came to me at the bank and one of the things or goals that you had planned, we were not able to assist you with that. I
mm,
wanted to be the person to still have the best option for you. And if we weren't that person, I would most definitely recommend you to where to go because
right,
I bank at multiple banks. That wasn't because I have different goals and banks have different goals. So if you understand what their purpose is and what they're trying to get accomplished, I make sure I choose the best one for what I'm trying to do right now. So if
right,
I'm looking for someone that's good on credit or giving good available credit, well, I'm gonna be looking at some of the smaller institutions, the credit unions, citizens, banks that are like little older and they're giving a little bit of money out because they need people
right,
compared to some of those bigger banks that spread all around and when applying for credit, they're looking for a lot more.
right,
So I want to be able to provide that best option. Or hey, there's a program. We're not offering a program. Hey, go over there. They're gonna take care of you. Let me get you with the right person because I've already built that connection or relationship with that good banker at that institution.
right. For
Mhm.
sure, for sure.
And yeah. So
So,
as a
okay,
yeah, so going into me transitioning to a financial advisor, this allowed me to be able to assist you with all aspects of your financial picture. I'm not just focusing on your banking. I'm focusing on making sure that your house is stable. You have assets. We got to protect your assets. You have liabilities. You got to understand what that specifically is. So your bank accounts, well, your liability is more of the stuff that you owe. So if you had any loans, credit cards, debt out there. So for your assets, we want to make sure the things that you own, like bank accounts, real estate, your car, any other investments, that stuff like that. But then you want to protect it. Well, that's the top piece. Well, when you get an asset, how are you protecting it? Well, you're the most important asset to anything. If you're not well, if you're not healthy, if you can't produce any income, well, everything else is going to topple and fall. So
right,
you want to make sure you're protected, you're leaving stuff behind for your family or building that legacy. We can help you create that. And the company I'm with now is Lifetime Financial Growth.
right,
So they've been in the industry based out of Pittsburgh. no advertisements. So even though it's in Pittsburgh, you wouldn't hear about it unless you're speaking to one of our advisors, because they want to focus education on us. They don't want to spend money in advertisements. You won't see us on a billboard, on a bench, or on the top of a pizza or anything like that. We're really spent focus all of our time on self-developing, building ourselves up, but also acquiring that information just so we could provide it to our clients. And then
And
this
honestly, man,
allows you to, yeah, I was gonna say this allows us to choose who we want to work with. And I want to work with people like me.
no, and honestly, to the point you just made, I love that because marketing dollars is expensive. And
Hmm.
now if you can pour that back into, your reps and individuals that work for the company, now that gives them more of a book of clientele to go out there and get, because now they're not losing contacts versus the traditional media, multimedia, where people are seeing commercials and then they just go to some random rep, or you have a genuine relationship you can cultivate with whoever you teach about Lifetime Financial Group, because now it's a real personal connection that was made. They're not just watching a billboard or a TV ad and just calling a number. They're actually, oh, who you work for, Rob?
Hmm.
Oh, Lifetime Financial Group. Oh, tell me a little bit more about it. And now you're able to connect and build that relationship, because the relationship piece is always going to be a part of any financial service. So the fact that that's how the approach is being done is pretty remarkable, because as someone who chose different banks based on really doing my homework or research on them, a lot of times people in our community don't do any research on anybody, any relationship or partnership that we're about to forge. We do it based off feeling, emotion.
Hmm.
Um, Not all of us, but a good portion of how our decisions are made are not based on, a lot of a lot of business sense or business savvy, or just, oh, does this make sense? You know what I mean? So that's kind of interesting, I think.
Yeah. No, so the best part about it is it pushes me every
Right.
day. Like when I chose the bank to go to, it was more of what I was looking for in my life personally. I went
Mm,
to the bank originally to learn about money. I
right.
learned about a system, a different world of how money operates, more of not how to bring it in, how to make it. So when I started building connections with business clients, I was doing multiple things on the side. Like I had a lawn care and maintenance business. I was
Mm,
operating at a young age. I'm going out cutting grass after work. I'm putting up light fixtures and house drywall, paint, anything that I could do. But I wasn't doing it on a scale of knowing what I was doing. I was just doing it because I know how to work. I could go up to someone and say, hey, I could do that for you. I can do it right now. I charge this price. But you really make wealth or can create wealth from having multiple people do the same thing that you can do under you. So managing. So if I can manage people to do the same service that I can do, I can make more. So that's what me meeting business clients that were coming into the bank and showing me that, hey, what you knew before was nothing.
right. So I love that you just said that. I just shared my screen, and I'm
Perfect, perfect.
excited because you now have the ability to market yourself in the way that you want to. And I'm excited about what you got coming up, because so recently, just to give the backstory to our audience, I was a guest bartender at Infinity Bar and Hookah Lounge. Shout out to them. Titus Morris,
Mhm.
Ivy Morris. If you've watched my podcast, you've seen Titus on one of my previous episodes, and I did guest bartending, and it was tremendously fun. I was able to connect with people who came in. Obviously, we served them drinks and had a happy hour, but I was also able to educate them on a nonprofit called Realty Thinking, where we teach real estate investing to individuals in impoverished community, just giving them the resources and education that they need to be able to get into real estate investing. So with all that being said, you were one of the people who came out and supported, and that led to you now doing coming up on September 6th with Lene Solomon. You guys will be pretty much doing the same thing. I think you'll be highlighting your role and what you're doing. And if I'm not mistaken, she'll be the guest bartender.
Yes. So the biggest thing about this is I want to bring people together. I want to bring us together to a space where young professionals can learn and build from one another. The real
Right,
estate mixer will allow you to be able to connect with multiple people in real estate. But for me being there as an advisor, one, you have to be able to learn how to protect the real estate and learn how to be able to generate some cash flow to be able to cover the real estate. But the biggest portion is credit.
right,
Most of us are like, man, how do I get that real estate? I don't know. I don't have no credit. Well,
right,
I want to be able to show us, anyone that has questions, how to build their credit. I want to be able to show you that you have access to public information, and I'll show
right,
you where it's at. You go to it, I'll show you how to learn about it. You just got to be able to comprehend it. It's just like you taking the initiative. It's all public information on ways to build your credit, learn about credit, and how credit is used in the world that we live in today.
right.
And then I didn't get my first home normal way as
Mm,
everyone else. Go to the bank and pay a mortgage. I did a land contract. You could ways, and that's just being able to reach out and connect with the right person. For
okay,
me, I was reaching out and connected with the right person. And if you contract law is a thing. It's just if you learn how to read about contracts, you could generate a contract and you get a person like Tyler to notarize that contract. It's good as gold. And as long
right,
as the two people agree upon those terms, there are multiple ways you can get push done. So
shout out,
I didn't
shout
have
out
the
to
money. I
TC
didn't know
Notary.
about credit.
I
Yeah, I didn't, I
appreciate
didn't, I didn't have credit. I didn't know about credit. I had a negative 71 credit score when I started. So I was
it.
like, man, I gotta think of a different way to be able to get this house. I needed a
Right,
place to stay.
right.
Yeah. So I
No, that's
did a
great.
land contract.
Mm. No, that's awesome. And so you do a lot of different services. What do you think is your favorite service to provide to your client?
I would say similar to you, it's just financial literacy, but the service, it would be I'm a financial advisor by trade. Everything, me helping you as a financial advisor, I take a look at everything. I want to look at your full financial picture from a 30,000 view so we could bring it down to a 1 foot view and you can understand what's going on. So I'm big on consumer law, but that's dealing with the credit space. So
Right,
if credit is one of those things I have to assist you with, oh man, I love it.
right,
I love it because it's like, man, why didn't I know this when I was in school? These are things
right,
that how to operate a business, how to communicate with people well in that real world to be able to get business done, how to do taxes, how does credit work, how to buy a house, what is interest?
right.
Like, how does that work? What is good interest? What is bad interest?
Right. Right. And honestly, man, that is a passion that me and you both share. Because I do a lot of within the schools, nonprofits, some pillar organizations have brought me in to teach financial literacy. And one of the main things that I always try to share is when it comes to budgeting and credit, those have to be the foundation because it's hard to really get into anything else above that without having a basic understanding of managing your money and then having an understanding of why credit is even important because you can't really do much if you don't know how to leverage and understand why the value in having a good credit score is so imperative. We live in a credit-based society, so therefore, you in order, it's just as simple as the person with the better credit score saves money, and it's just that simple.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
um,
So
and
I want
many,
to.
good, bro.
I was gonna say before. I want to show y'all one thing
Oh yeah,
just about credit. Just how, just something that Congress wanted us to know. Give me one. Let's see.
While he's doing that, I'll just let you guys know again,
Sharing for us.
2612 Brownsville Road, this upcoming September 6th. Um, Real estate mixer, Robert Williams, financial advisor, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Lene Solomon, real estate agent, she'll be there as well. So if you do not have any evening plans, make sure you come on down and support and get educated on how real estate's working and how significant a financial advisor could be for all your financial services.
Come meet someone new.
That
Some
too.
people, some people be sitting at home and they're like, man, I wanna build more connections. Why am I doing
Right,
this? Why can't I
right.
do that? And it's because some people are just sitting at home. You
Just
gotta
sitting there.
go out and come meet people. Come meet us.
Right.
See, why we're connected, why we stay in touch, just so we can learn from each other. And
Right.
we like to transfer those experiences. So it's like we read a book just to be able to go and learn a journey that someone already took. Why make those trials and tribulations when I can go to someone that's a trusted person and they can provide that guidance, the steps that I missed or that I would more on finding right then and there. So it's like, all right, let's make things a little bit easier for ourselves.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So I see your screen there, Rob. What are we looking at?
All right. So so this is the US. All right, so this is the code, 54 titles on how the United States operates. I'm not going to go to see the president is number 3, but we're going to go to Title 15, which is commerce and trade. 122 chapters in this section, but the most important chapter is Chapter 4, which is consumer credit protection. So this is public information. All you type in is US code. You can go directly to this. That's why I want to show you step by step. And if we go to subchapter 1, the consumer credit cost disclosure, go to part A, general provisions. And if you go to 1601, congressional findings and declaration of purpose, I just want to read this little snippet for you. Informed use of credit. The Congress finds that the economic stabilization would be enhanced and the competition among the various financial institutions and other firms engaged in the extension of consumer credit would be strengthened by the informed use of credit. The informed use of credit results from an awareness of the cost thereof by consumers. It is the
Hmm.
purpose of this subchapter to ensure meaningful disclosure of credit terms so that consumers will be able to compare more readily the various credit terms available to him and avoid the uninformed use of credit. Consumer against inaccurate and unfair credit billing and credit card practices. So what does that mean to you? They know that these institutions are out here trying to not necessarily scam us, but they're trying to paint a picture so we don't know,
Right.
so we don't understand it. So when we're applying for credit and we're getting credit, well, they think that they can do whatever they want. They can report anything, they can charge us anything, but there's laws to show that they can't. But what does
Right.
credit mean? The term credit to Congress means the right granted by a creditor to a debtor to defer payment of debt or to incur debt and defer its payment. So you have a right to access credit. So if you have a right to access it, I feel like you should know about it. So
Right.
you have these credit repair agencies or restoration companies. They're building your credit or fixing your credit or removing things, but are they actually showing you what credit is and how it works? What are they doing to show you how to get that removed so it doesn't happen again? Why did it report in the first place? Or what did you do wrong that it affected you? They're not helping with that. They're trying to put a band-aid on it temporarily and then it uncovers again. I want to show you how to learn about this, do this, use it in your every life, and now be able to show generations this for a lifetime. What's your
No,
thoughts?
honestly, massively significant because a lot of times it goes back to, I always compare it to using a sports analogy when it's competition, player one versus player two. So the person
Mhm.
that has, let's say, the most knowledge, the most experience, the most know-how when it comes to what the rules of the game are, they are going to ultimately be in an advantageous position
Mhm.
because they know what can legally be done versus the individuals who know pretty much nothing. And so when you go into these financial institutions and they're saying, hey, we didn't approve you because of X, Y, and Z, you just take that as gospel, but you don't really know if what they're telling you is truthful or not because you don't know the laws, you don't know the rules, you don't know, how the game is played. And that I love that
Yes,
point that you
indeed.
made is because when I go into these rooms and I'm teaching financial literacy workshops, because I've been on the other side in financial institutions, I can give them the psychology that comes along with the thought process of how they create their policies and procedures and why they do so. Some are good, some are bad, and some are just based on the foundation of we're a business. We trying to take customers' monies as much as we can from a legal standpoint. So I say all that to say, man,
Hmm.
what you just showed and described and spoke about was so much needed because I hope it inspires many of us to just get on, you know, get out of our own way and start looking at some of these websites and start getting educated on law, politics, because those things have direct correlation with how our money is being either used or mismanaged or what have you. So there's a lot of factors that go into everything we're talking about. And I think the biggest reason why many of us in our communities don't do it is because we have so much other things that we think takes precedent. And it's not to say family and all that other stuff and taking care of the kids and all isn't significant, but you have to make time. You make
Hmm.
time for the things you want to make time for. Imagine if you made
Yeah.
time to be better educated, it could shape and reform some of the hardships that you face in specifically in a, in a specific part of your life. So I say all that to say, man, it really inspired me because there's things that I still don't know about, laws, politicians that impact from a financial standpoint. So now it encourages me to want to do a little bit more research than I've ever
Hmm. Like the informed use of credit, it said that it allowed you to the competition. So I can compete with an institution that's been around or a company that's been around for a long time because I can get access to capital that I normally wouldn't have or I haven't made yet in my life. So if with good credit, I can apply for something that's substantial. Let's just say 100K. Well, what could that 100K do for you? Well, most people that aren't able to get approved for 100K, they would just blow it off, go spend it, go get cars, houses, or whatever they could do that wouldn't benefit them. It would just put them in a worse circumstance that they continue to already live. So if you informed use of credit, you have that 100K, you would generate something that would make money to pay that 100K back, but also be able to support you with cash flow to be able to live the life that you would like to live. And that's one of those things I want to be able to teach people as well. How do you learn about credit, leverage credit, because you get a credit card and go buy a bag, or go buy some shoes, or you could go get a credit card and pay for that course that would educate you a little bit more, or you could get that credit card and put it into something that would generate you some money. Go buy a purse, sell the purse, pay the credit card back, whatever you made off of it, put it in your pocket, rinse, repeat.
Right. No, for sure. And one of the things that I want to ask you about is what would you say is something that you would specifically want individuals to know about ways to leverage their credit for a specific financial goal. For instance, like home buying has been a huge part of my life the past 2 years once I first got my house. So I was like, all right, now that I've been through the process, I want to help educate others on how simple the process could be if they have some basic understanding on how the whole process even works, from choosing a realtor, from choosing the title company, from choosing the lender. And I say all that to say, because of what you know, how do you try to infuse those things together to get people thinking differently? Because we know, owning a home is one of the easiest ways to build generational wealth.
Yeah.
So how do you take everything you know and try to put it in terms that your clients or a customer who aren't experienced enough, how do you get them to understand the significance of what you're telling?
I try to meet you where you're at.
Okay.
So it depends on where you're at. So let's just simple scenario, you want to buy a house. What does that process look like? That's the biggest thing. What does it look like? Well, first thing, they want before a realtor even looks at you, majority of the times, they want you to be approved for something. They want you
Absolutely.
to be approved for an amount that they can work with to find you a house that will fit that budget with you.
Right.
So, in order for you to get approved, you either get a pre-approval or you go through the process for that loan. But you want to make sure you at least have a home in mind or area where you want to live in mind. So, before you buy that home, single family home first option. I'm gonna tell you, I don't advise it. I went the route, I didn't get a mortgage, but I still wouldn't advise it because when we take a look at your balance sheet and we look at your assets, that asset quickly becomes a liability because you got to protect it. You got to make sure it's protected. You transferred a little bit of the risk, but then you got to pay it back. So instead of a single family home, I want to teach them how to build generational wealth already. So if you're looking to buy a home, let's just say majority of the people live in an apartment. What's another year living in an apartment, not necessarily apartment, but you're sharing it with someone else. So let's say a duplex. You get that duplex, one side is paying for the other. You might not be cash flowing, but at least your money you're working so hard to earn is being put to the stuff that you actually want to do instead of paying for you to be able to live.
Right.
Sleep. Something else is covering that expense for you. So,
And the money you're able to set aside into a
mhm,
high yield savings account or CD or something that's producing you a lot more interest, or without going in a tangent on investing, it gives you money to leverage for investments.
oh,
So I love that strategy. It is one that I do know many people who utilize and have utilized. Hell, it's probably one I haven't utilized it yet, but I probably will in the near future. So
mhm.
those are just some strategies and concepts that people don't know, but they
I would
should.
say this. So also getting started, where are the programs at? If this is your first home, we want to make sure that you utilize as many resources as possible. There's
Absolutely.
grants, there's first time home buyer workshops just to educate you, but also going through those workshops, they might get you a good rate on the home. They might
Right.
allow you to be able to buy your first home up to 4 units. So
Right.
that's three cash flowing assets while you're living in one of them, up to 4 units for your first home. And if you only have to put down a little percentage of that, well, there's a grant that might cover you on that. So we want to make sure that you get all those resources to make that informed decision.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yep. So with that being said, man, I'm gonna get you out on this one. Uh, what is what is the legacy for you look like, or what it actually a better question? What is the next year to 5 years looking like for you with this new venture you're on? And I obviously see a ton of success coming up for you, man, because I see how you work, I see how you grind, I see how you are when you talk to people and how you move and shake in the community. So I see you being majorly successful, but ultimately, just from your words, what do you see on the horizon for you?
I'd say within the next year, I hope to build a community, a community of young professionals or motivated entrepreneurs where we could bounce ideas around on different business strategies to grow, things that we never was taught, learned, and how to be able to get through those processes through life. That community will be able to, one, you safe space. Anything goes. We can make sure that we appeal to you, but me being a financial advisor, I want to be able to connect people together. I have multiple businesses, so I want to be able to be the connector to help those grow, but also to be able to grow with others.
Absolutely. I love that. Any last words or advice you want to give to the audience before we wrap things up?
I'd say best way to reach me is 412-701-8257. Shoot me a text, shoot me a call. I have a social media page on Instagram called Consumer Life Essentials, the essentials us consumers need going through life. I'll be posting little things about the things that we need right now. Let's just say about debt, definitions of terms and words, because we know person being one thing and person can mean multiple things. So on there, it's honestly just things that you could be able to learn for us consumers. Some things are small, some things are big. It might change you, it might not, but check it out. Consumer Life Essentials on Instagram.
And we'll have all of your ways to contact you on the description from the drop down on YouTube. So you can definitely stay connected with Rob. You can also tap in with me if you need to get at him. Financial Literacy with TC on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, pretty much every platform, Spotify. You can also reach out to me personally, TC Notary LLC. So the goal is really just to continue bringing consistent and inspiring content when we talking about financial literacy. As you can see, the Black representation, two young Black men out trying to provide education as best we can on as many platforms as we can. So that's why I'm always excited to have individuals like Rob, Titus, and other individuals I've had on this platform, because when you Google financial literacy, you don't see that Black representation on the first 1 to 2 pages, if at all. And I want to make sure that we are a voice that we can be able to say, hey, you don't need to look outside your direct community to get this education. You don't need to look for people who live in California, New York, Houston, and think
Man.
that they have all the wealth tips. It's not necessarily, it doesn't translate to where we live locally sometimes. So this platform is going to continue to push out great content, have great individuals like Rob. And I just want to make sure, I want to thank Rob for joining me, man. You've definitely inspired me and continue to inspire me. I'm looking for more partnership with you, and we're going to do some great things because we've always had a relationship to where we can really talk, have conversations, and see what one another's doing. And then we also make sure we give props to one another on what we're doing. I know we got Greenwood playing coming up October 10th through the 13th, I want to say 13th or 14th. And that's an awesome experience from the standpoint that it's a group of entrepreneurs, business owners in one weekend where, we're doing things from getting business education a ton of financial resources. I know I was there last year. I don't know if we'll be there this year, but it's a time that I can't wait to experience again.
Okay, and I appreciate you for having me. Y'all have a wonderful day, and you create your own path.
Yeah. All right, y'all. This is Financial Literacy with TC. Thanks for tapping in with another episode for us, and we'll see you next time.
See you. Switch it.
I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where to find me. I'm on a pod with TC, with TC.